Cockroaches and mouse droppings. Probably not what you were expecting to hear about today. And I had no ambitions to be in pest control 3 years ago, but in a funny, bizarre sort of way, I am. HSBC Exchange, or as I prefer my original name for it, the Shut Up and Listen Project, is our uninhibited forum for employees to express their most innovative ideas or important frustrations directly to HSBC leadership. Could it be confusion over compensation structures, or ideas on how to make collaboration between business lines more easy? Or perhaps it's what we found in one of our service centres in Kuala Lumpur, where cockroaches were driving the coffee business at the local Starbucks. These ideas and frustrations are far more powerful when a manager or leader hosts an exchange. Their only remit is to sit quietly, listen. They do not interrupt, contradict, or correct, while employees talk about what matters to them most. They can only listen, take notes, and update an online portal so we can see what topics were raised. And what's most important is that those topics don't just stay there in the room. Employees are encouraged to fix the things they can. And all of those issues are reviewed by senior leadership, so it doesn't become just a discussion forum with no obvious follow-up. Exchange began in 2011, when we were really feeling the impact of reputational issues on employee morale, coupled with a 50% drop in trust in our leadership. Our new CEO, Stuart Gulliver, knew he had to get to grips with this quickly and decisively. So one of the first things he did was to declare that employees are our greatest and most important stakeholder. Well, so what? Don't all CEOs say this? This one was a bit different. He very quickly managed to refocus the collective mind that we are, in fact, a people business.
What we don't seem to get, actually, and I think this is a process problem that we hopefully solve with HSBC Exchange, is the ability to get 50,000 smart people all coming up with a couple of good ideas. At the moment, we actually have no forum in which we can get those ideas on the table and up to those of us who have, frankly, the authority to execute them. And again, one of the things that may change people's perceptions of, is this a massive bureaucracy, would be the ability to think that their voice was heard.
One of the most tenacious of perceptions amongst leaders is this concept of permafrost. You all know this one. It signifies this impenetrable layer through which no message shall pass. And if it does, it's mangled beyond all recognition. But there were a few of us who considered this concept a myth, that it only prospered because it had never been challenged. There is no permafrost. There are just too many people with their fingers permanently on the talk button of the walkie-talkie. There are two parts to communication. One person is doing the talking, somebody else has to be doing the listening. We had too much onus on getting managers and leaders to talk. They'd been talking for 148 years, and quite frankly, we'd heard enough. So with HSBC Exchange, their role is shifted from the person doing the talking to the people doing the listening. It is based on a very simple driver: to liberate the voice of our people. It is a brilliant lesson learned if assumptions are challenged, received wisdom tested, and the rulebook is considered a manifesto of the past and not a route map to the future. Our CEO and President in the United States, Irene Dorner, sums this up really well.
Great ideas, great feedback, Moans, groans, get a lot of those because that's what happens in life. But actually, if I don't hear it, I can't fix it. We want to know what people are thinking. We want to know what people are saying. Well, the exchanges benefit the company because we get a free flow of information up and down the organization. And actually, I love them because I get better feedback the lower down the organization I go as to what is actually going on. And that informs me of what I need to do.
Exchange is supported right up to the Group Management Board. We redefined our values as open, dependable, and connected. And Stuart Gulliver was urging all of us to behave with courageous integrity, and not just to talk about what was really going on or how things really were, but to regard that openness as a commercial advantage. The benefits you reap as an organisation if you truly listen to your employees are unrivaled. We developed a pilot for Exchange in the Middle East, and the results were really compelling. Employees sat and talked about their aspirations, their inspirations, and their frustrations, and little niggles that seldom get back to leadership. And they did this without fear of reprisal. The greatest lesson that leaders learned is that to master the art of being inclusive, you must first master the art of excluding yourself from the debate and listening to what people are saying.
The first time I heard about it, I was skeptical. And I've said yet again, it's another meeting and it's another idea and it's another gadget. But then I thought about it and I've heard the idea behind, and I thought that, well, let's give it a try. The first thing actually was a very humbling experience to me. First, I discovered that I could sit down 2 hours without talking, which is great. But more importantly is that I discovered that people had a lot to do, and this was a kind of a unique opportunity for them to express themselves.
Exchange is the exact opposite of a communication survey or an HR survey, where somebody else is deciding on the questions they think are important. With Exchange, employees set the agenda. So, what are our insights? First, if the welfare of people is not as they should want, it becomes a preoccupation that stands in the way of performance and delivery. Now, common sense told us this way before Exchange did, but what Exchange revealed is the disproportionate magnitude that those day-to-day issues has on an employee's ability to do their job. Secondly, employees who participate in Exchange meetings are more supportive of change, better understand the strategy, have more trust in senior leadership, and feel more part of a speak-up culture. Thirdly, we had an enormous untapped reservoir of ideas with no outlet, and Exchange has provided just that facility. That is not to say that we can address every single issue that is now brought up in what is over 4,000 Exchange meetings every quarter. We're a business of 250,000 people. We can't meet every individual's pet hate or hope. But what we can do is listen to the collective inspirations, frustrations, and aspirations that are raised across the 75 countries in which we operate, and address the ones that transcend those borders. It raises management issues, of course it does. A single Exchange session in New York raised 225 separate issues, each requiring investigation and prioritization. But what Exchange has done is create this virtuous circle whereby listening has motivated employees and leaders to work together. And in turn, that has stimulated new ideas so we can improve the business. People feel valued and respected and involved, and know that they are contributing to a new culture at HSBC. And it's given all 250,000 of us a seat at the top table. Exchange truly gets airborne the moment leaders grasp one very straightforward yet profound principle. If you believe someone is worth talking to, then they must be worth listening to.
HSBC Exchange is one way we've ripped up the rulebook and showed our values in action. HSBC NOW TV is another.
I've said many times I'm just lucky that I live in a country and I work for a company that allows me to be honest about being gay, being Portuguese, being bold. I'm António Simões, I'm the CEO for the UK, but also the head of retail banking and wealth management for the rest of Europe. I'm also the chair of the UK Diversity and Inclusion Committee. Brian, good morning. Hi, Antonio. Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Martin, yeah? I really wanted to meet you after the Shine Awards. Hi, how are you? Good morning. Hello, good morning. Hi, how are you? I'm very passionate about diversity and inclusion. We should allow everybody to be the best they can be, and therefore we need to create an inclusive environment where they can be the best. It's ultimately about meritocracy. The idea is, regardless of your gender, of your race, of your creed, you should be allowed to be the best you can, and if you perform well, you should be rewarded.
Caroline one of my business specialists.
Oh, there you go.
So obviously also gone through an awful lot of change this
Hello,
year as well.
how are you? I've been very lucky throughout my career that I've never felt discriminated in any way. So as an out gay man, I've always been very welcomed, and I've always been allowed to be the best I can in my job. Having said that, every now and then I get the "what does the wife do" question, and I need to say, well, actually my husband does so and so. So over time I've said enough of that. I normally say that my husband will kill me if I don't go home in time for dinner. So people sort of get that into their minds. But the important message here is that you should just not assume something about someone. Visiting Oxford, actually, I'm really keen to see both the commercial teams and the retail teams. So it's really important that we look at the connectivity between the different businesses. Hi, nice to meet you. Hello, good morning. Feels like a wedding. I'm actually saying hi to everybody. Hi. Hello. I've always been very open about my partner, my husband, and my life, but I've never made a big deal out of it, and actually I haven't been that visible. And more recently I felt that I have a responsibility to be visible because I lead 50,000 people across the business, and it's important for them to know that I'm comfortable about myself as an individual. I'll give more of a UK perspective, and Chris will give a slightly more global perspective. A lot of gay men choose not to be out in society, but if they do choose to be out, we should allow them as a company to feel good about themselves in the company and to perform to the best of their abilities. Some familiar faces. Hi. Hi, how are you? I fundamentally think that diversity is a good thing in itself, but the case for it is overwhelming. If you think about it externally, if we promote the best people, ultimately they will be able to serve our customers better. And that's how we should think about this. And our customers themselves are diverse. We're in 80 countries. We have 54 million customers. We have 8 official languages. So we are diverse as a bank. And if we are actually going to be the world's leading international bank, the agenda of diversity and inclusion needs to be a key part of what we do as a business.
HSBC NOW TV, our multi-award-winning TV series, shows our culture in action through stories like this. They bring humanity back to the workplace, and they create environments where it feels safe to bring your whole self to the office. To paraphrase Abraham Lincoln, NOW is a storytelling network that is authentically of the employees, by the employees, for the employees. NOW is not just about employees seeing others live the values of HSBC. Above all, it demonstrates that the same cultural change is taking place throughout the firm across 75 countries. At the heart of its success is an editorial process that has resulted in over 2 million views in less than 2 years for something that is not mandatory to watch. And this is the best bit. The production process is essentially boss-free. There is no interference from senior execs, and there is no multi-layered approval process to go through. We constantly ask ourselves, what stories are employees actually interested in? And what behaviours and attitudes do we need to change? After every episode, we are inundated with reactions. After our very first pilot, we had 5,000 comments and suggestions within a matter of days. A story about work-life balance and working mothers triggered vigorous discussion, and it took the whole debate of working parents to the next level after it was aired. In a way, these stories have become like global water coolers. But of course, all this content needs real editorial discipline. Not every idea has what it takes to become behaviour and attitude-changing stories. Covering an event or a town hall, for example, absolutely not what we want. But this is.
The protests against Mubarak's regime had gathered in strength all day. In a furious pitched battle, protesters tried to cross the river.
I looked at my BlackBerry, there were no mails received or sent. It hit me. The communication has been lost. We are disconnected with the world.
Meanwhile, the physical security team broke curfew to protect the bank's headquarters from armed looters.
They tried to attack the building about 6 or 7 times. It was very, very dangerous this time. They see that we're not afraid.
The regime may fall or hold on. Either way, Egypt will never be the same again.
Identified branches that had cash and that were able to replenish the ATMs.
They put the money onto the bags and seal it. And the airport, they take the money in the helicopter and transfer it to the branches. Of course, no car can work in highway because it was very dangerous and every highway was closed.
Nobody will push anybody to come in this time because you are talking about army in all streets. They asking you about your ID, where are you going? Maybe they will take you. It's a real risk, and I'm very proud.
One of the most unexpected developments of HSBC Now is that employees wanted to watch it away from their desk, outside of working hours. They wanted to share it with family and friends. It told us they were proud to share these tales of bravery and commitment and the striving of colleagues that in all likelihood they will never meet. So we created the HSBC Now YouTube channel. Since launching, it has been accessed across 147 countries. That's 72 more than we actually operate in. We also have a branded Twitter channel that acts as a newswire to promote and tease the content. These two channels combined have had a huge impact on our social media and external profile. I won't bore you with statistics because the numbers speak for themselves. So how does HR fit in here? Well, attracting and keeping hold of talented people are of course fundamental to any HR strategy. I also think it's fair to say that business culture is a shared responsibility between leadership, HR, and communications. We have shown that by sharing real stories about people can have a huge impact on employer brand. They've been given a voice and have become willing brand advocates as a result. Through these stories, we can now show the outside world looking in what it's like to work for HSBC and who are its people. Our HR function can repurpose this content every day. There are now stories featuring on our careers page of our corporate website. It's used in induction, graduate recruitment. Since promoting all this content via LinkedIn, the number of job clicks spiked unprecedented all-time high by 30% in just 4 weeks. Emmajane and I are very proud to have developed 2 radical initiatives that are helping to put a human face behind the HSBC brand. It's contributing and driving a speak-up culture. It's helping to make employees proud of their association with HSBC and become a magnet for talent. There are many stories that we could have chosen to end with today, but nothing captures the spirit as much as this next clip that shows how far we've come as an organisation and how much we've ripped up the rule book. I think it takes enormous courage for anyone to admit they have a mental illness. It takes even more to go public with it. And I think it takes a very brave organisation to share and discuss stories like this.
I'd suffered from depression a lot during my life and my career.
I think he will see it as a wake-up call, and I think his own experience has equipped him well to understand that in a very fundamental way.
In this phase of HSBC's development, all the thing that Stuart Gulliver and the new management team are trying to do, then the old way of managing the firm and the old way of managing people is no longer appropriate.
If we get the people bit wrong, we'll fail as a commercial organisation. That's absolutely clear. We won't have the right talent, we won't have the right talent to develop.
Early in 2006 I had a big breakdown and was in hospital for a couple of months. I was talking to HSBC before that. It's pretty remarkable that this firm was prepared to hire someone into a pretty senior role who 6 months beforehand had been in a psychiatric hospital.
I'm interested to know, in terms of the exchange sessions that you have, the 2-hour sessions, what structure do you put on them, if any, to make sure that it doesn't just it doesn't degenerate into a screaming, moaning session? Because I know that we've had a couple like that, and that's kind of what happens, or can happen.
So we've never said people have to have 2 hours. They can have as long as they like. It's very much the employee's decision. The very first exchange session that the majority of employees have, because it's the first time they've been given that opportunity to speak, is possibly the most cathartic experience of their life. A lot of leaders haven't been quiet for 30 years unless they've been asleep, so actually having an experience where they have the floor. So the first couple is exactly that, and it's fine. Have a great moan. Talk about the things that have been pissing you off for 5 years, and that's fine. After that, you find that once those things are off the table, they actually start talking about other things that fundamentally can help drive business performance. As long as the things that they mentioned in the previous exchange, they know what's done with it. The onus is very much on empowering the employees to fix the stuff that they can and to build trust with that leader that they can talk about those kind of things without that leader interrupting or contradicting what they're saying. The structure is very free-flowing. I think the most difficult thing that I experienced was leaders asking for training. That's training to be quiet. So it was a real difficulty for some people to grasp. So you just want me to sit in a room and not talk. And for a lot of people, that was very bizarre for them.
Are the sessions facilitated?
No.
By a facilitator, or is it one leader and 10 employees, or?
We have no rules around it. So it's right at the beginning when we first talked about exchange, the way we described it was possibly slightly more prescriptive, but now any leader, any manager, so if you have a direct report, you have a responsibility, or we suggest hosting an exchange once a quarter, you can do it with your own direct reports, but actually what's more useful is if you skip exchanges. So you have exchanges with your reports, or you do an exchange with people that you don't know in a different business line. That's normally where the most information is shared. A senior leader in global banking and markets is going to learn a lot more about collaboration problems if they host an exchange with a load of people in commercial banking, for example. But we allow leaders and employees now to just own it themselves. They make it what they want.
Sorry, in terms of the feedback mechanism, to make sure that all that stuff's captured and that some of it's action or some of it's kept, what does that kind of back end piece look like?
So we have an online portal, and we have 4 businesses, 10 functions. Those will all get a report that tells them, here are the top 5 conversations in your area of the business, and the group management board will get a global, omnipotent view of the entire organisation. But we've made it quite clear that the reporting side, or as you described, the feedback mechanism, is considered 1% of what Exchange is. 99% of Exchange is the behavioural change between leaders listening and employees feeling part of a speak-up culture. So yes, we do have a report and we absolutely investigate and people are encouraged to fix, but we make sure that it hasn't just become another survey or another feedback mechanism, because they just don't work.
Is it something that you can imagine to go online entirely, or do you need the face-to-face kind of?
That's the exact
setting?
Purpose of Exchange. So we felt that the minute you do something online, which is why we feel it's the opposite of an HR survey or communication survey. So the minute you do something online, you are a single person, a single entity feeding back. It's the opposite of collaboration. You are actually a silo in yourself. And yes, you can collaborate online, but nothing's going to change the fact that employees want to sit and talk to other human beings. So we wanted to actually move away from that and actually get people talking to each other as human beings.
How did you make it okay for employees to share? I can imagine like the first few times for people it was very hard to think, is it going to have impact for me, for my career? How did you make that environment okay to share?
Yeah, absolutely. When we first started talking about it, everyone in the organisation thought they were about to get fired the moment they opened their mouth and spoke honestly. I think it did require some time for a few people. Some leaders and managers got this instantly. Some people were just wanted to create that environment. There was one example when we piloted this in the Middle East where a line manager was so encouraged by this new behaviour that she just got exactly what Exchange was about, but knew straight away that her team was going to struggle with this. But she held her nerve. She sat in that room for 6 minutes and did not say a word. 6 minutes is a long time if you're a line manager or a leader, not to prompt discussion, and that was really important. The purpose of Exchange is for employees to set the agenda, not for the leader to go, well, I think we should be talking about this. So 6 minutes went past, and thank God, somebody in that room then said, do you mind if I just open the window? I'm a bit hot. And obviously the manager said, yeah, fine, go ahead. And somebody went, yes, actually, what I want to complain about is the windows. They're never cleaned. And then floodgates opened.
Great, I think for time we have to stop. Thank you very much. Excellent.